Are we back, Rose?
We are.
Is everyone here?
Back to the beginning.
Yeah, one of three bashes is back.
Oh, yeah, I have tremendous problems this time with the vent, actually. So don't count on my recording.
I think
There
I'm
he
getting
says.
it, Bashi.
Okay, good.
So, where were we?
Electronic handheld devices and things like that.
Yeah, well, that's a real big subject. There's two good subjects in that, though, that I like. And that is what they're doing with the gaming industry and what they're doing with the mobile phone industry.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning about the gaming industry, about the Xbox 360 with the new model that they made where they can scan you, you jump around in front of the screen, all the happy families are doing it, and they're scanning on what everybody's wearing and stuff, and that's being sold off to, you said something about Walmart or something, that just bought like information from Microsoft. Well, that was well interesting when you did that.
Yeah, that's all noted fact. I mean, that's in the newspapers. It's been in the newspapers, or a newspaper, or probably trade press, that sort of story. But yeah, that's common knowledge. But yeah, 14 odd million bucks. Walmart bought the information from the Xbox gatherings. And the thing is, I think when you join Xbox Live, in the terms and conditions, there's a clause about it being able to do that and it being legal, and you're agreeing to it. But of course, no one ever reads that. They just want to play the game they've just bought, you know. So yeah, all good stuff. But the thing about the gaming industry I was going to talk about is the controllers and who's playing it and what they're playing and what the most popular thing is, and the way it's ranked and how you're ranked and why you'd want to be ranked, and the fact that monetary value is being given to these profiles now, etc., etc. It's all part of a process, and there's a physical side of that process as well, which people aren't putting together. And I showed some friends of mine some video recently of a guy, you know, well, a couple of things, military spec things, that when put together, you know, make a very formidable thing. That coupled with remote control, you keep your really valuable devices safe. The person that's trained to use the equipment knows what the equipment's capable of, etc. But the interface between the user, the valued pilot, as should we call them, the valued user that's had the money spent, you know, to put them through training to be able to do this, but the user interface they use is going to be something they've had in their hands since childhood, and that's the interesting part about it. Because if you go onto a battlefield scenario and you see a couple of pitched tents with the sides open and a couple of the guys sitting there at laptops, and you look at them, they'll be sitting there, and when you see them on a film or anything like that, they're always sitting there tapping at the keyboard or grabbing these two great big joysticks with loads of monitors around them and all the rest of it. And even on newscasts, they're very careful about how much what they show you. But what they don't show you is 9 times out of 10, there's a lead going to the laptop, which is running Windows. Therefore, you use a Microsoft Windows-enabled controller. And guess what? The cheapest, the most ergonomic form of that is. Couple that with the games and the software that's available to the youth at the moment, and the violent, detached feeling of it. Couple that with sitting in a chair controlling another human being in a suit that decides on friendly fire or not, and that's about all they're there for, shall we say, a grunt, part of the machinery. And you've got a pretty good cocktail, haven't you? Someone that can pull the trigger because they're stupid, and someone that is worth a lot of money and well trained at any sort of equipment that they're in, or that grunt is in, being very safe. And there isn't any attachment of murder or guilt because of the electronic detachment, which is exactly what they're being mind-cast now by the games industry. And that's not even the games industry's fault, and that's not Microsoft's fault. It's players that are far above all that, massaging markets and pushing the donate button, as it were.
That's brilliant. That's really interesting, and I've been watching that for the last couple of years, because when I got all cozy in Japan, I got myself an Xbox, PlayStation 3, and I went crazy with it. And why wouldn't I? I've gone from like a handheld Super Mario crappy device. And I went right into the world of it all, and I spoke to a lot of people online and watched kids. And I tell you, all the old gamers, all the Atari gamers and stuff like that, they just couldn't compete. These kids, they just bought an Xbox, they just straight into it. They were just slaughtering everybody, and they were like being brainwashed into it, into this new world. Like they were fanatical about it, and some of the friends that I made that were really, they become really close friends, and they end up getting bored of the Xbox, but they start talking about it for real, and I always talk about like, what would you do in this situation and what would you do in that situation. They've got an answer for everything. They're very confident they can survive any catastrophic event or whatever. They're just really on it, and I still keep in touch with some of them because I really feel one day I might need them, because they are so on the ball, and they've been since 12 till 18. They've been playing the Xbox. It's pretty weird, but pretty disturbing as well.
If you want to see the value in the training of it, there's an example that I noted, which was a chap there was a particular game, it's some time ago now, and obviously the technology is a lot better now, but at the time I think it was Colin McRae's Rally or something, but the circuits on it were like geo-mapped from data, so they were exactly right. And it was said that if you drove the circuit on this computer game on a well set up system, that you would know the circuits and you would be able to go straight onto the rally circuit and drive it more or less knowing what's coming up next at high speed. Plus the skills you learn at controlling the car on that game would stand you in good stead. So this chap saved up £18,000 of his own money and bought a rally experience for 3 months or something, or entrance into a low-end rally that was based at one of these courses on the computer game. And he'd done very, very well, and he'd never rallied before. He'd never done it before. He got straight out of the computer and stepped into the real thing. And he placed, I think he was like 4th or something. So there is value in this training they're giving these kids. Great value. If you want to turn them into a disconnected murdering machine that then walks out of an office building and gets into a car and drives away, totally unaware of the reality of the mayhem that's just been caused. And the ones from the hamburger end of the market are the ones in the power-assisted suit that just stop the crazy things happening, like shooting each other. They've got an override. That's to save the suit if there's some sort of malfunction. And the suits will be camouflaged electronically. So they've got cameras on they've got cameras on one side and screens on the other, and vice versa. So they take a picture of and portray what's behind them and project it on the screen that you're facing. It's as simple as that, really. That's the technology, and it's all very, very nano and all the rest of it. Almost like fabric. Very clever stuff. But until it starts moving, you can't see it. But when it moves, you can. But that's too late by then, isn't it? That coupled with self-elevating devices that you can basically stand in and fly within 10 minutes of being shown them. I've shown people video of them, haven't I? Whoever's here. Ree, you're here. You've seen that video, haven't you?
Which one? The invisible one.
Yeah, the invisible one, and the. Do you remember me showing you the chariot, the air chariot, and the assisted suits, the fighting suits? Do you remember those, or did I not show you those two?
Oh yes, you did. Yes, I remember them.
And they're out there as well. They're not hidden. You've got to go on. There are people out there that have got those videos, and it's fairly, generally known if you start looking into those subjects and so on.
Well, I can testify to a lot of what you're saying because my youngest son, back in the day, several years ago, he finally got out of it, but he was completely and totally addicted to this one game called World of Warcraft. And I guess he got so good at it that he got approached by several people that wanted to buy his account so they could have his tools for the whatever killing tools he had acquired. He ended up getting me, and I did it because I figured, well, maybe this will get him off the game, and I think it did. But he took and sold his the person he was, or his assigned whatever it is, on eBay, and sold it for like $350. $350. Are you ready for that? to sell the stuff that he gained in this World of Warcraft game. And he was totally addicted to this. I had to pull him away from it. Finally he did. He's pulled away from it. But, yeah, I just thought I'd share that.
There's people in Japan that are paying 50 grand for these profiles with these Pokemon games and so on, and living life games that they've done really well on. But you look at the ranking system in the fighting games. I'm trying to think of Skid. Do you remember what's the main fighting game?
I think Call of Duty.
Tekken is one of the fighting games. You got Tekken, which is one of the most popular ones.
No, I'm not talking about those sort of games. I'm talking about like World at War. You know, where you're point of view, first person shoot 'em, but you're in real war scenarios like Special Ops. I'm trying to think of the one that.
Okay, we're talking now like Gears of War or Call of Duty.
Yeah, that's
Call of Duty. Call of Duty.
That's the other one he played.
Yeah, Call of Duty.
There you go. They got the same addictive sounds, tones, and constant. If you look, the game is set up so that the minute you're killed, lots of things happen on the screen that are colourful. And if you actually watch someone play that with the headphones on, and try to look at an angle at the screen and look at the person's face and the screen when they're killed, and watch very carefully the person's face and then what happens on the screen, because the attentional blink is taken massive advantage of at that point, and they're back in the game and fighting before they know it. There's no chance for any of the emotional things to happen, really. They just get the annoyance and then they're back in the game. And the attentional blink is huge. And if you sit there and watch them, when they die, it's actually sort of 10 seconds to reconnect and do what they've got to do and all that. But they absolutely sit still. It's like the world stops for them. Don't take my word for it. Try it out. Make someone play it with headphones so you're not too involved. And don't pay attention to the game too much, other than the fact whether they're still moving or not. As soon as they drop dead or you see the blood hit the screen, look at their face, not the screen. And then you'll see how the blink is totally taken advantage of. And the thing is, this has been pointed out by a lot of people and scientists, and they tried to bring the 3D images in recently, and the attentional blink, the marketing skills that it's all mapped in with, and they just put it under that whole banner, of artistic temperament, caused a lot of headaches and that with the 3D displays. They thought it was 3D displays, but it wasn't. It was the kind of marketing and the kind of game industry shenanigans that went on that caused the headaches, not the 3D imaging TVs. So there's a lot of legal bullshit going on at the moment about that between these companies, because a lot of people invested a lot of money in that industry and it's all gone pear-shaped.
Yeah, the 3D game was a bit of a flop, and when we looked into it, and studied, because it was the handheld device as well with the, I think we're talking about the DS, and it got a lot of complaints.
Well,
we looked into it.
They all got complaints. Don't single one out. They all got complaints. Yeah, but 3D device.
Yeah, and people were saying that, but it's not the 3D. It's something else. But anyway, it just does my head in, so I got rid of it, and they just ended it on that. So really interested what you say about marketing too much in your face type of thing. It gave everybody headaches. It drove people were collapsing. They didn't know why, and they just said to themselves that it's because you're doing too much 3D, but that wasn't the case. The 3D wasn't that powerful. It was almost like you didn't really notice it. So it was because I tried one and it was like, no, this is not so bad. This is not going to make me collapse. But yeah, if it was stuff that was being shoved in your face, that would do your head in. But I didn't try it for too long, because I don't really like DSs, and I try and stay away from games now anyway. I like Star said she pulled her son away from gaming. I just got bored of it, so I got rid of my gold account, and then I don't go on live anymore. I play pinball tables and stuff like that. I try and stay away from the gaming things, because it's exactly true what you say. This killing thing, it's like these kids to go for 98 kills and 1 death, and they just brag about it. My kill to death ratio is this high and blah blah blah. But it really is like 5 minutes, death, back again, born, racing off, and they nail every single map. Like the amount of effort that they've put into it, it's insane, and it's all in the mind. It's like when I was their age, I was breakdancing and stuff like. And I'm just thinking, this age, this is what they're doing. This is what they've been trained for. And loads of kids have stopped like now in England, it's finally going. People are saying, right, all right, kids are saying, I've had enough. I want to do this. I want to get out. I want to get out on my feet and do stuff. And they get rid of their Xboxes, and because it's getting a bit boring for the people who were on the scene at the beginning. But it's growing and growing and growing for all the other kids who are like, oh, I want to get one, and they try and build up the gamer score. And that's what Xbox did. It was genius. They made a gamer score, an overall gamer score that you get. So it doesn't matter what games you play, you try and build up.
If you look at the game of life and the gamer score of life, you'll see what they've tapped in. I mean, if you look at it's how it's all sloped in. I mean, multimedia marketing was in its infancy in the 70s, and in the 50s. Well, look at TV series. You know, these what do they call them? Soap operas. The only reason they're about is because so and so hairdryer sponsored the soap opera about the salon, and that company's sponsor money made that program, that short half-hour program, possible each week, and that's how those series were born in TV. You know, so they've slowly moulded their what they're capable of process. They already knew hypnotically and physically what things are capable of that go into your eyes and ears. That was already known. When they were given devices that could actually sit in the corner of your room and do these things to you, put things in your ears and eyes, whatever they wanted, they honed their craft. But they realised their craft had another tier, which was manipulating the human psyche, actually what you thought about those things afterwards. And that became very apparent. It was a more powerful tool. So they've made it the game of life, you know, to succeed in life. So you start with computer games and you become what you are in a computer game world as a teenager and so on. And then you go out there into the big world and you want new toys. So you buy a nice mobile phone, the best kind, and the best connection, the fastest. You've got more websites. You go on more forums, you know. You start playing big boy games. But it's the same thing. You're holding a little thing with a battery in it in your hand, and you go bing, 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 bing. That's all you're doing to amuse yourself. So it doesn't matter whether it's adult subject or child subject. It's the game of life is going on, which leads into what Microsoft did, which was purchase Skype for 830 odd million, again backed by gold. That purchase, and they did that because their plans are to make Skype worldwide, a worldwide mobile free network to this device that they are going to bring out with their new Windows on it to govern the market again before anyone else. But the thing is, then what they've done, unwittingly, what they've done is they've connected the world, and they've connected the world with a multimedia device. So we've got those same gurus from the 70s now, which are much older and wiser men with much more many more weapons in their arsenal. And of course the image is so pronounced now, as we were just talking about with technology 3D images and so on, it's going to get more, that their control will be worldwide. So you can massage whatever's going on geographically, politically in an area. You could massage it with media designed for that area and pop it in there from, you know, GCHQ. So it's, as a friend described it to me once when we were standing in the back of the room with our arms folded, sorting the world out, he said, do as you like, ray gun, that is, what they've just described there. And I went, yeah, I totally agree.
For sure. Do you think you could beat up Jack Bauer? I'm only joking.
You're such a dope.
I know, I just slammed that in there, didn't I? Alright, sorry.
Okay. So we said we were going to talk about harp, didn't we? Which is kind of good because what we were just talking about there with a handheld device, let's take it, let's start using our imaginations, all right?
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you to indulge my imagination for a little while, shall we say? Okay? Because that's the only way I can do this. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've agreed that, you know, we've only spoken logic about the computer games industry. There's nothing monumental we've said there. There's no singular thing we've said in the last, you know, hour or so is groundbreaking. But what we spoke about and the context we put everything in, and the ducks, the way we've rode our ducks up, should we say, the order, has led us to a conclusion, all right? That there is manipulation going on, but we all knew that too, all right? And you take that out into the real world and so on. But now we're talking about handheld devices in everyone's hand, where their eyes and ears are affected by what they see. That is a powerful thing, and whoever controls that to the most of the extent is going to control public opinion, therefore the world. It's as simple as that. We're already, in the same fashion as the 50s, 70s, 80s, 90s, being geared to prepared for the words and the meanings and the feelings of what is coming. And I'll give you some out there product names like iCloud. And there's other ones like there's servers in the air that you can store your photographs on. You've seen the media and it's starting to come. This is what it is. And what they're describing there is that, and those things they are massaging you, showing you the green field or the door with the flowers open, is they're showing you an ability to pick things out of the air. And the reason that is being massaged in is the real reason and what HARP is actually for. And I've watched with glee many people stand there and investigate and all the rest of it. But the problem is HARP is a commercial concern. So the people in it and around it are protected with their civil rights. So it's not a military or government operation. It's a business. So what it's funded by and who it's for and what its research is about is neither here nor there. And the people doing it and what they're doing there are twiddling knobs. What they don't know is they never do, these people. They're just trying to ascertain knowledge and understand things and get to their life goal of proving whatever their theory is. But in doing so, what they've done is given others that are pulling the strings something to think about with what they've discovered. And funding, the donate button, was pushed. And I've heard loads of people talk about what it is and what it does. Well, I've got some, I've made some notes from somewhere, and I've done some drawings. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them to Amenjo, and he can build them up and put these notes up. I think that's what we'd do. I don't know whether to read from these notes because they are pretty higgledy-piggledy. But so basically, you know that, let's bring another subject in just for a moment. Chemtrails, okay? Everyone knows about chemtrails. Everyone knows that they've been using barium and all sorts of things, spraying it. Well, the reason that's all been going on for years is because they wanted to put a reflectant material into the atmosphere at certain heights and see what materials stayed there longest and would stay at what level or what part of the stratosphere, etc. And that's what all that's about. But of course, as everything comes to Earth eventually, if it's a solid, it caused effects on the way down, and that's what all the complaints. But they knew it wouldn't be too concentrated in any one area, so the continuation went. They experimented, and additives were put into commercial jet fuel to improve longevity of the engines, and the chemical companies that made that additive were actually funded in the same way HARP was. So I would say a lot of chemicals were laid out as lubricant in exhausts, whereas they were then immediately trained on and used. So you could, there's always an argument there. I dare say they could legally defend themselves there, but I can assure you that additives were put in jet fuel, and then HARP was pointed at them to see if they contained the capabilities that they actually wanted. And then there's, which leads us onto that, and the capabilities and what it's for. I've heard varying things, bouncing things, protecting us, not protecting us, mind control, you name it. Well, okay, if that's what you think and that's all there is to it, that's fine. But that's not what I was told. This is third party, and I'm just surmising. So I'll just lay out what I was privy to. They had been looking for something that would stay at levels in the atmosphere and stay there. Therefore, put there and will stay aloft. And one of the capabilities they wanted of this material was for it to be able to carry a positive and negative charge in two different places at the same time and stay aloft. And they did not mind how that happened. They tried everything. I'm sure if they could have got cornflakes in there, they would have tried it. And this is the testing that's been going on. And the reason they wanted to put a positive and a negative into the atmosphere that can stay there is because they want, and this is where it gets imaginative, shall we say, there is software on the net now, on the internet now, that is free roaming. And that is provable. We can give links and so on. It was done by accident by nerds at a big conference a couple of years ago. But that was not the issue. The issue is that this software survived on its own. It was designed to. And that was grabbed and funded. So software was developed by machines that are far more capable than anything we usually talk of. And lots of time on those machines was put towards this. So I would consider it quite a goal. And the software was developed that basically can manipulate and govern itself. And they want to put that software free in the atmosphere. Now that sounds absolutely ludicrous until you couple it with the fact that they found a bacteria that they can do this to, and basically binary or computer language or how machine code works, whatever language you want to talk about, is based on yes or no. And this software is based on yes or no. And they needed something in multitude that could carry this software, stay aloft, and say yes or no. And this putting it very bluntly, because I'm not a scientist and I don't understand too much. This is just notes. So you have your cloud. This bacteria has got a nucleus, so they're working on the fact that it was a mistake almost. The thing that made it attractive, or that first made them look at it, was the fact that once it's sprayed, it multiplies. So you only have to, when you spray a canister, it turns into a multitude, as opposed to what you sprayed out the canister and then that's it. This continues to duplicate. And they use something at a cellular level. And the reason they use this bacteria is because when it is affected by various frequencies, you can turn parts of it on or off. That's the simplest way of putting it. And they have been able to find a couple of 2 or 3 places in it that they can do this. So now they've got a single thing that can say yes or no 3 or 4 times. So this is beyond their wildest dreams. Plus these things stick together in an obvious cloud. The real holy grail is to use the entire thing, and it's quite, the potential is massive, because I think they can put 30 or 40 yeses or no's in this one cell. So that makes the entire organism absolutely unbelievable in its magnitude of saying yes or no, or the software it can hold. The software's developed. They're nearly there with getting the bacteria to hold the yeses on the no's and the amount. And the whole reason for this is because when they get the frequency right in reverse, we should be able to pick up information on our own. And that's the Holy Grail. That's what they're after. They're going to get in your heads. And what you're looking at is a candle. What it will be is a 1,000,000-watt halogen lamp by the time it gets there. But that won't be for a few years. But that's where it's going. And they're laying it now. The one other anecdote there on the end of that was the frequency range we're in now, where we are in the heliosphere, because of the flat tone, has just dropped straight into their lap. It's perfect because they're in a noisy solar area. And it's that solar noise that is going to enable the human race to do what it's got to do. As always, Ra controls genetics. So these people that are manipulating all of this aren't going to be on the wagon with everybody else because of how they've dappled with their own nature. And they're going to pay the price. And they are pulling out all the stops and pushing all the levers to make sure they do.
That's fascinating. Very, very fascinating. So you're saying that this is going to... I believe that.
So this bacteria will stay in the air and multiply.
There already has been for a couple of years, different types, all the experiments, big mess really, just a complete soup. But they've got one that they're really happy with now, yeah.
I was just talking last week about bacteria and what capabilities bacteria has and stuff, and how many scientists have got fantastic bacteria that can do so much good, and it's all being held back. And again, this is just rumours that people are talking about in Japan, but there's proof that scientists have bacteria that can do so much stuff, but it's all being held back. And I don't know, this was something again that my missus just said to me. She said, look into bacteria, find out about that.
Well, the thing is, it's not so much the bacteria, that is just, the wagon. The principle is being able to put something in the atmosphere that is capable of holding electrical data. And this is just the wagon they're doing it in. So it's not the bacteria's fault, and it's not some disease that we're going to get, or except, not that I know, but it's not in that way, shape or form at all. It's literally just a wagon to hold the thing they want to do. And it was really stumbled upon, really, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's the transistor, no?
Exactly.
The
Exactly. Thanks, Bashi. Yeah, exactly.
So this software which they want to put into the 3D atmosphere, you say this is a self-governing software which is then also affecting, having a kind of direct link into personal, individual minds, is it not?
What I'm saying is, if you can affect a living organism to make it hold data, you can then get that same equipment will affect living organisms. And it just so happens that the where it is in the dial, shall we say, put simply, is really favourable now for a couple of 3 years for testing. It's not noisy. There's not a lot of background noise. And the very thing that they use to transmit, it will affect us in a dulcet way. Excuse me.
That's probably a phone call saying, if you say one more word, you are dead.
That's what I was thinking. But nah, probably just a phone call. But this is a fascinating subject. Very fascinating. And this bacteria can multiply. It's quite fast.
Yep. Sorry about that. Yes, it can multiply, and that's that was just that was the initial thing for it. They were thinking, well, what can we put in this cell, in the nucleus of this cell, that's metal or whatever, because then that will stay up there, and they started looking at it that way. But then they realised that they could slowly realised through. I mean, I'm putting it into a couple of sentences here, it took ages. But they realised that no, they were going about it the wrong way. They don't want to put something in the cell; they want to affect the cell. And they found a bacteria that's electrically capable of being affected.
Yeah, well, if it's bacteria that's containing information, okay, that's carrying information that can multiply, one of the biggest things I can think of that it can affect is your genetic disposition. It can affect your DNA.
Well, our DNA is going to be affected because of what's happening. I mean, it's pretty much common knowledge. Everybody knows that solar weather, shall we say, affects the genetic pattern of the planet. Putting it in one broad statement. I'm sure that's going to piss so many people off. But let's put it just in that statement. So that's going to happen anyway. The transmissions can affect you genetically. The information up there won't affect you in any way, shape or form. It is form and function only. There is no other sinister use for it other than technology, shall we say. But as all technology, it will be used in a sinister way, obviously, because if you can affect people's... they start with a handheld device that gets you used to being affected by something there and being connected to something physically that you've got with you all the time. And that transition will be taken all the way up to being able to concentrate in a certain way or look at a piece of something that you keep in your pocket or what they call a keepsake, that when you focus on that keepsake, your mind wanders to a place that you've been taught to do that connects you. So you'll be, oh, you can't do it. Can you see where it's going and how it's going to be brought in? Oh, my keepsake's got diamonds in it. How did you remember your keepsake? And this is, everything will be marketed. What do you mean you can't do it? Look, I'll come round my house Sunday and I'll show you how to do it. And then once you're in, you're in. And you'll sit down and look at your keepsake and you will log on and you will use it like the internet. But the thing is, it's not the internet, is it? The software that's going up at the moment and what the base programs they're going to use and so on, they are all software that basically is maintenance software. They're the infrastructure. So they're not capable and going to do anything apart from make someone go, yeah, I noticed that. Maybe in the long run, but at the moment it's just infrastructure.
One idea which is coming to me is that if you put something into the atmosphere which you can manipulate electronically, you can use that also as a kind of electronic shield to shield influences which are coming from outside, is it not?
It's more a case of the influences coming out from outside are about the only fear they've got because it distorts and mucks about with everything and just basically ruins their day. It's this downturn in that is being taken advantage of so they can sort of, get some sort of bass tone effect, calibrate. But no, if there's any sort of, there is going to be flare spots. And they're all noted, and when they are, operations will cease almost because it's almost totally ineffectual in those points. So you see why the thing is sequential.
No,
it's not driven by any religious thing.
I'm not talking about flares. I'm talking about information patterns, or let's say radiation of information.
Yeah, well, the effect. Sorry,
the
yeah,
Earth.
sorry. Let me speak. I know what you meant. Yes, it will interfere with what would have naturally happened to us. Yes, it will. That's the thing you were getting at, wasn't it?
Yeah, so you're talking prison planet, no?
Well, already. That was 200 years ago. Didn't you hear the gates clink? I'm just, the only reason I've come forward with this is because people really need to know what's going on, because it's not all the daft things that are being said, and all the daft things that are being said are probably better. So this is the boring stuff. So, whether it gets out anywhere is another thing. And of course, it's all hypothetical as well. You know me.
I think you said it quite well,
Yeah.
and it must be very difficult to try and say something without, like you say, putting anybody in the shit, and at the same time trying to, get the information out, type of thing.
Plus, I'm as dumb as a sack of rocks.
No, that's what we thought that phone call was. When you got that phone call, I said it was like somebody's gonna. Okay, that is enough. You don't speak no more.
It was a friend of mine saying something like, "You better shut up," being funny.
So we were right.
No, it was a friend of mine making that joke.
Okay.
All right, so I was right.
So yeah, give it another 10 years and then we can have a laugh at this conversation.
But one thing is, my feeling is, if these people are not even bothered that there will be a kind of negative backlash from a self-governing software which is running in the atmosphere and can affect people. I mean, we're talking AI, is it not? And AI has, at a certain stage, also, a free
Well,
will.
it's only AI. This is another thing about AI. It's only AI in one subject. All right, so it will be AI in systems management. It will be AI in system security. So it will be such a complex program in that one area, that one arena, that it would seem almost omnipotent in that arena and self-propelling. But you've got to understand that software is then running on other software that is also manipulating and monitoring itself. So yeah, all right, the ultimate, your desktop, as it were, with all the programs on it, ultimately, I would say, is getting nearer the AI you're talking about. But at the end of the day, it is still expert programs. True AI in that respect, well, the thing is, this is what they're dabbling with now, because if you give something natural, that capability, that's really dicing with all sorts of things. So that's really where it worries me, if there is a worry.
So this sounds to me like there's two-way software that is put out by bacteria that do have a life of their own and an evolution of their own that cannot really be controlled, which is coupled with a software which takes care of its own and makes decisions of its own. Sounds to me very much like those people putting that in place don't really count on being here and have this replacement to do their job in the future, much rather than to govern over them. So you're saying the only way to counteract on this is to influence exactly this system as it is unavoidable with by inducing something else as a thought to run on.
That's exactly why I came to Avalon in the first place, is why we did everything. It's the reason I came here, to initiate that. I have left things and they've gone viral. And when a piece of software or someone even at some point goes back and calculates things in a certain way, they will come to a set form calculation. And that is a little note from us for when that software reads it for security purposes, because then it's in there. So yeah, that's why, that was what I came out to do. It wasn't, that is actually what was set in motion. That is the form and function that I took. I did it a long time ago, and it was 100% successful. Everything we've seen since, sorry about that, very large motorbike. Everything we've seen since then is just meat and potatoes. That's why you've seen the, I've not got too bent out of shape by any of it, because I'd actually finished what I was doing, and it was to affect this situation. And some very brilliant men did that for everybody, and are carrying the can as if they're the enemy. No one's had a clue what's been going on.
Well, that's pretty obvious, because that's the first explanation of that I've heard, and it sounds very plausible.
Well, we'll see. Like I always say, proof's in the pudding.
Tweaking the matrix.
Yeah, you've all gone very quiet.
Yeah, it's just ingesting what you say. It's like we're just like the listeners. We're just kind of we're just ingesting everything what you say, and it takes a while to think of what can you add next. It's good stuff.
I've got notes here. Yeah, they only have 7 or 8 switches they can manipulate, but they expect huge figures when they get it right. This compared with all the software that has software for the firmware and firmware self-manipulation. HARP is the transmission tool. It's only dangerous when it sends the manipulation frequencies.
Manipulation frequencies?
Yeah, whatever they transmit and however they transmit it is how they tweak what that bacteria holds. And depending on what frequency it is, they can narrow it down to broad spectrums of that bacteria and layer it. And it's those layers that the golden mean is used to fabricate on. That's what the whole thing runs on. And then the software is run on that golden mean principle. That's as much as I know about that. Oh yeah, look at some more notes here. Cosmic placement affects the ability to clearly do what they do. The heliosphere and where it is has moved into a non-energetic dark part of space. I don't know anything of the science behind that, but it is generally known and discussed. The interference, therefore, has diminished, and their experiments have become very successful of late. So the bacteria has many advantages. It can be programmed, yes, no, several switches, memory. Software has been developed that can manipulate itself, its structure, whilst managing itself in a free environment. It also multiplies in the atmosphere. We will be manoeuvred because it will be free. I'm talking about people. People are going to be manoeuvred because it's going to be free. Everything we're talking about is going to be free, and it's going to start with that Skype, with that handheld device running on that, with the Windows. That they're going to give that device free away. Everything's going to be free. You'll get all the equipment free and the ability to, that's all free. You pay for the content you use. And really, I'm going to stop reading the notes there because I can see where they go. And I'll leave that on the point that it's how you pay is what intrigues me, if anything.
So this is the biggest software or hardware rollout in history of mankind, more or less. Much bigger than the internet.
And it's weird because it's based on one of the smallest things.
Why, sorry if I stop it there, but why do you say that how it's paid for is intriguing you the most?
Well, I was being, what was I being? I don't know what I was being. I was saying that if it's free and you access it for free with your mind, how do you pay the bill? And the second part of that was me being me and saying that you pay the bill with your freedom.
Oh, okay, sorry. In that case, that was me being Bill. Sorry.
I mean, this is the perfect tool for military control because it gives you 100% complete situational awareness in every spot on the Earth, is it not?
Well, that's actually where they're going to test it. It will be on military operations to manipulate the army.
Yeah, that is total control.
Yeah, if the person wants to and wants to get on there, yes, it is. Yes, so all they've really got to do is create the need, the want in your actual genetic needs. You used to want carrots at one point, especially you, Bashi, and they're going to make you need to want to go on the internet. I mean, don't you already? I mean, look, we all know that. We all know the thing in the corner of the room is dead, isn't it? And we're all sitting at another thing in the corner of the room now because it's much more enthralling because you can basically ski wherever you want. So you're being prepared and it's soon going to be in your hand and it's going to be anywhere. Perfect. We'll be able to do this whilst jogging, rowing a boat and running down the road. We're being prepared.
Yeah.
It'll be in your nature to want to go on. You'll be an outcast if you don't. And there the line will be drawn. Those that want it and those that don't. Those that think it works and leads to utopia and those that think it leads to a form of madness.
Brilliant. I mean, it is. It's fantastic. It's genius.
It's all so simple, isn't it?
So bloody simple. It's fantastic. I love that.
So you see, Bill didn't get it all, did he?
No, like
No,
what
he
we
would
have to
ascend.
spiritually grow. We have to spiritually grow or we'll fall victim to our own technology. Seems like an old speech now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's one word which comes into my mind. It's called juggernaut.
Funny you should use that word, my friend.
Well, some homework.
Ah, really?
You know, coincidence, synchronicity, and so on and so on. You know.
Well done. One of the names of one of the things that left. Remember?
Out.
Yeah. Some words always stay, and they always have a tone and meaning.
Yeah.
I can think of 33 of them. Time for some music, don't you think? Time for some music, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah.
The blade running is getting difficult, no?
Right, I'm getting out of the kitchen. It's getting too hot. I'm going to go and stand in the garden and listen to some music and have a fag.
Okay.
All right, let's have a break. All right, Rose, can we have some music? The music was really good. Okay, welcome back to Atticus Radio, and that was Oasis, Wonderwall. That was my version, just before the show. Hope you enjoyed it. We're going to be closing off on the show now. We don't think we can really top what Atticus said before. We had the break. It was fantastic. So everyone's just going to close with their closing comments, and we think you can all agree it's been an absolute brilliant show. I hope you all enjoyed it. Okay, I'm signing out, and I just want to say thanks to everyone, and have a great night. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I agree. It was a great show this today. Good long 4 hours actually worth, and some interesting subjects just to be closed off and topped off with Stephen's comments. Great show, guys.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I think it was like a slowly growing volume which ended up in a kind of crescendo for everyone who has ears to listen to it. So I say also thank you very much, and till next week then.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone on the mic and behind the scenes. Rose, that would be you. Thank you so much for making this possible.